Per usual, everything on this channel is for educational purposes only and is not intended as financial advice. So for the past week or two, nothing really has happened with BTC other than the pullback broadly. Obviously, the market is popping off in other ways with Ponzi's, pyramids, uni, sushi, kimchi, whatever, food tokens. All that stuff's going on right now. At the end of the day, it's not going to be super relevant for BTC unless the profit taking rotates into BTC, which is possible. I'm not counting on it, but it's possible. So if we look at where we're at with BTC, this is the easiest trade setup of your life, guaranteed. This is an if this, then that situation, not a predictive situation, but a roadmap of what to do for me, especially. That's why I do these videos really at the end of the day, for me, not for you, of what to do when we get to a certain support or resistance on the chart. So if you're looking at the cloud of double settings, this is exactly the setup you want to see. This is the setup you dream about seeing. This is the setup you tell your grandchildren that you trade in. Okay. If it pops above the cloud, you go long. If it pops below the cloud, you go short. It cannot get simpler than that. For the long side, I think it's limited to the upside. Somewhere between 13 and 15, that's probably asking for a lot. I like 13 more than 15 there. And the downside is probably limited to 8.5, which sounds low, but I think if we break 10K, that's where we're going to go. Obviously, we'll stop somewhere around 9, but this is the setup. Ideally, before the long or before the short, this hugs the cloud as much as it can. The cloud flattens out. Everything goes to zero. The entire momentum of everything flat. Everything's at the starting line of the racetrack, watching the lights, waiting for the gun to pop, and then boom, you go long, you go short. Easy peasy lemon squeezy. This is going to take a week or two to finalize itself, most likely. You can see the TK cross already bearish, which you might think to yourself, okay, this is a short setup in the making. Whereas I, the seasoned cloud trader, think to myself, great, if we get a long Kumo breakout, bullish Kumo breakout, and we get a TK recross above the cloud, that is the most bullish signal you can get for the cloud system. My bias is currently long. I currently have a long open since 10.4, just because ETH was moving and BTC wasn't. So that's where my head's at. But if this breaks 10K, I'm pretty certain it's going to 8.1, maybe 8.5, but I like 8.1. I'll show you why in a second. Something else you can do, you say, Josh, I hate the double cloud settings. Heck, I hate the cloud and you, but you know what? I'll pay attention to single cloud settings. This is what the single looks like. Another very clear setup, crystal clear. Okay, you're waiting for, if you want to go long, this is what you're waiting for. Price above cloud, bullish Kumo twist, bullish TK cross. This is on the 12 hour, so it's going to happen a little sooner than the daily or the doubled settings, which might actually be better in this case because you want to jump the gun a little bit. Right now, this is pointing towards a short entry as soon as price goes below the cloud. The problem with this short here is you have to keep in mind 10K was and is a massive psychological support. So the downside's probably limited to 10K, but then you can make a decision if we get there, if we break that or not, right? It is probably appropriate to go short from 10.7 to 10K, and then it's a wait and see situation. Just as it's appropriate to go long if we are, let's say, above 11 at the end of the week, then the expectation is a return to previous local highs, at the very minimum, which is 11.8, 12, somewhere in there. We can also add the 200 to the daily, which has been extremely predictive for trend continuation and momentum, aside from some of the stuff late last year, early this year. We're going to not talk about that. we're going to exclude that from the data set. So if this breaks below the cloud and the 200, again, that's extremely bearish. Shouldn't need me to tell you that, but here we are. I do like the volume support again at 8, at 8.1. I like the volume support at 9, 9.1. What you may see if we do break down is push the 200, bounce back up to 10K, and then 10K is no longer supports resistance. And then we make the descent to 8, 8.1, whatever it is. That's certainly possible if we break down. As we stand now, cloud is neutral above the 200. We're bullish there. Something else I'm watching for upside downside potential, if this then that decision tree situation, is the weekly cloud and yearly pivots. So the first pause I have for taking along is this TK disequilibrium. When the TK lines are super far apart, like they are here, just like they were here, They're not as far apart as they were in 2019. But if you see this in 2019, just like I said to myself, okay, to go short here, I need some really good evidence because this says it's massively oversold and has been for a while. This says it's relatively overbought, has been for a while. But on the other hand, these TK lines, these essentially moving average type lines, are kind of all over the place because we've been so range bound for quite some time, volatile. So it's going to take a little while for these to catch up. Until we're above the cloud with bullish TK cross, blah, 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 on the weekly, then we're comfortably in a long. But right now it's sort of a hairy situation with either side of the trade. So my long, again, upside is limited to this cloud resistance around, I don't know, 12, 11, 8, whatever it is, as well as the yearly pivot at 13. If we preemptively, before 2021, break 13, then things get super interesting. Because then on the if this then that decision tree, how overbought are we? How bullish are we? How much does this look like bullish continuation if we break 13? Or are we going to mean revert to the Kijun, which inevitably will be somewhere around 10K? That's a weeks down the road situation for Q4. But that's something to consider. As far as the downside, again, yearly pivot is at 881, Kijun is at 881, Cloud is at 8485. So tons of confluence for support down there if we break down. Very much a wait and see. The 20 SMA on the weekly, which is the median line of the B bands, has also been highly predictive of where we go as far as momentum. So if we break 10, again, not a shocking number, if we break 10K, that doesn't bode well for bullish continuation in the near term. If you look at this pitchfork, I don't know why people hate the pitchfork so much, but the people who hate the pitchforks really hate the pitchforks. It's a trend channel with specific rules. So if we climb this like a ladder or descend like a ladder, upside resistance again around 13 something, that'll keep increasing. Price wants to return to this median line eventually, as long as the trend is intact. Downside, again, 8 to 9, somewhere in there. It's really hugged this channel. It's always odd. You know, you draw this, you could have drawn this in March and you would have been set, right? There's this channel, it might bounce around, maybe it doesn't, whatever, but those are the potential support resist lines. So again, if it breaks this diag to the downside, it's probably going to the next one down. If we can break the resistance on the upside, it's probably going to the median line. One last thing for BTC as we approach the 25th, which is a rollover period for CME, there's usually increased shenanigans. So again, if we break 10K or get close to breaking 10K, like on the 23rd and then bounce on the 25th, you know, that sort of destroys the trade setup. But that's something to watch for, just because there's a lot of volume, open interest sloshing around throughout this week, either rolling to the next contract or shorting the next contract, longing the next contract, whatever. That's what I refer to when I say shenanigans. There's a lot of open interest being moved around, typically. ETH is a little different. It's a little more sideways. In a vacuum, this is all bullish above the or above the cloud, but I don't really see a trade here specifically. I expect the TK lines to cross bearish over the next week or so. The easier trade is always going to be this one. It's always going to be, we go long if it's above, we go short if it's below. This trade, you can still go short if we break down. Obviously, it's a bearish Kumo breakout, but the long side is a little bit messier because you don't exactly know. I don't exactly know where the best setup is here. So I would actually prefer if this just dips into the cloud, resets everything, momentum goes to zero, we're back at that racetrack again, ready for that green light to go long. If you look at this on the 12-hour settings, a single cloud essentially, the entries are more clearer for long, short. The metrics are essentially reset. You're waiting on this cloud, but it's basically flat. So for the next few periods, it should zero out, as get almost as neutral as it can. Momentum goes flat, long, short, easy. So anything above 400 would be a long, most likely. Anything below 350 would be a short. Not surprising, psychological levels. That long-term 450, 750 edge-to-edge situation for ETH is still there. The issue is, do we return to the mean first at the Kijun? You know, it gets sloppier when it's this long. Does it just consolidate for another 2 months before it hits any of these targets? What I'm really looking forward to is like mid Q2 2021, which has historically been the most bullish quarter for crypto across the board. Q2 2021, if we're above the cloud, oh man, ETH, we could see new all-time highs for ETH in Q2 2021 if everything is broadly bullish, which the expectation is there based on the weekly cloud for BTC as well. I don't know what situation fundamentally gets us a new all-time high for ETH, but based on metrics on the weekly, that's certainly a possibility as far as a bullish trend continuation through Q2, Q4 2021. So, if this isn't your cup of tea, this sort of messy situation, just wait it out. You don't need to lose the farm trying to trade this mess. Wait for Q2 2021. Go back, flip those burgers at Wendy's or wherever, Chick-fil-A, and just wait it out to April 2021. Because if we're bullish, if all the metrics are bullish on the weekly cloud, oh man, that's an exciting time. Should be an easy trade. Slam dunk. The 20 SMA again for ETH has been pretty predictive for trend as well. Long, retest, short, long, short, a mess, long. So if it breaks, I don't know what it is here, 320, 300, something like that, it's certainly less bullish than it has been. No surprise there based on everything I'm showing on trend on previous metrics. Here again, here's the pitchfork, 320 is the median line. There's that magic number again. Basically revisiting the local low. If that breaks, the next downside target is like 288. But overall, the setups and the trade targets for ETH to me are messier than BTC. BTC is just smacking me in the face. I couldn't be happier with this potential setup is what I'm trying to say on BTC. For ETH BTC, a bit of a mess. I don't see a trade here. There's just too much ranging, too many variables. I think eventually ETH BTC returns to 05. I just don't know how it gets there. The trajectory could be a complete mess, just like it was in late 2018, early 2019. This range is just brutal. If you're really trying to trade this, it's all over the place. So for me, ETH BTC is definitely a leave it alone, don't touch it situation. I'm just watching the BTC chart, honestly. You can have your food tokens and your governance tokens in your pooling Ponzi pyramids. That's all I have for this one. Like, dislike, share, subscribe, hit me up on Twitter, and happy trading.